Okay, time to take a look at a couple of new commands that we're going to use to actually model the individual finger segments. And that would be, for example, between the major knuckle here and the first knuckle of this index finger, the span between these two I'm calling the finger segment. And in order to make a long shape like that, we're going to use a couple of commands in OpenSCAD, one called hull and the other called difference, and I'll illustrate that. But first I want to show you, here are what look to be two spheres, but you'll notice that in the line that starts translate 2000, I've got another command in there, scale, and that takes three arguments: x scale, y scale factor, and z scale factor. And the y scale factor is set to 1.5. Now these look like two cylinders, but let me rotate these around and you'll see that that second cylinder has already been elongated in the y direction. Now the scale is what we're going to use to sort of shape these ellipsoids, and let me go ahead and do the same thing with the first sphere. And again we hit F5. Now that's really not what I want, because the scale for X I have is 2. Let me make it match the other one, and that's going to be 1 for X, 1.5 for Y, and now we'll hit F5, and that gives us basically two ellipsoids side by side, and they've both been scaled up a little bit in the Y direction. Now let me show you this. If you've never used SCAD or any kind of constructive solid geometry system, this is going to look pretty interesting, and we make use of this quite a bit in designing the hand. Now what I'm doing is I'm wrapping all those three statements in a command that starts with the word hull, then has two parentheses, no arguments at the moment, and then a curly bracket or brace, open brace, and then following all three lines, then at the very end another closing brace. And that means I want to take all those three lines and apply the hull command to these two ellipsoid. So let's hit F5 and see what happens. Now hull actually does a little bit more on the calculation side. It's taking both of those shapes and shrink wrapping, if you will, a surface that would enclose both of those. And here's what we get. We get sort of a prismatic shape, but those two ellipsoids now have a common skin around them, and so as I rotate that around, you see that's looking a little bit more like the piece of a finger. Okay, now I'm going to pause for a second and get set up for the difference command, and we'll show you how we hollow that out, because right now it's just one big solid piece. I'd like it to be hollow and have an opening that's going to go all the way through front to back. Alright, be right back.